Global awareness of the Nanjing Massacre was heightened in 1997 by the publication of a book called The Rape of Nanking by Chinese-American author Iris Chan. Chan committed suicide in 2004, and CCTV has been speaking to another Chinese-American author, Helen Zia, for her thoughts on the famous book and also the dark legacy of the massacre itself.
The importance of Iris Chang's book, The Rape of Nanking, cannot be underestimated. It cannot be overstated. This was a terrible episode of history. It was a genocidal act, part of an 8-year scourge that Japan wreaked upon China, and as well as throughout the Pacific during World War II. And this episode was about to go into the dustbin of history, much to Japan's desire for people to forget it. And because of Iris Chang's book, it really reawakened the details, the memory of what happened, and the conscience of the world. And I think that's something that is very important for all of us to remember, especially at a time of today when the world is still at war in so many places. In my case, I grew up as a Chinese American hearing about the rape of Nanking because my father's family was killed during that time in China by the Japanese. And my father never got over that. And to see as a child my father cry every time he remembered it, and yet the world never recognized that such a terrible thing had ever happened. And when Iris Chang's book came out, it was really an acknowledgement of all the pain that I had seen from my own father and my own family. Japan's role in World War II was to become the superior power of all of Asia. And they had a policy in China. It was called the 3 Alls. Kill all, burn all, destroy all. And the rape of Nanjing was really one of the first salvos of that war that then went on for 8 years. It's countless millions of people were killed by Japan, but in this one particular incident, this terrible atrocity, which was witnessed by so many people, including Western missionaries, German soldiers who were at that point members of the Nazi Party, teachers, educators who saw the aftermath of that, as well as many Chinese. This is what it means to see a whole group of people as an enemy, and not only as an enemy, but as less than human. Because when you think of the kind of terrible things that happen, I mean, these are atrocities that are worse than anybody can imagine. And to be able to do that to another human being, to have contests of how many you could kill with a sword by hand, or to take babies and throw them in the air and catch them by bayonet, or to mutilate and rape masses of women and girls and then torture them and kill them. You have to wonder what kind of human being could do that to another human being. But so here's the thing. War involves dehumanizing other people. And that's what these soldiers for the Imperial Army of Japan did. They were looking not at people, but at things and destroying them every way they could. And that we must always remember and learn from it. It's really hard to comprehend how people can deny history, whether it's Japan and the current Prime Minister and so many people in Japan who still, even in front of diaries and with photographs and memories of their own people, to be able to say that this never happened. And I can only imagine, looking at Japan, which is really such a world power today economically, that perhaps there are people who would rather pretend that it didn't exist and then claim to be a world power. But the fact is, this is a stain on Japan's soul, on their government, on their military. And Japan, or any country that's committed such atrocities, can never be a great world power. Japan will never be able to stand up as a world power, as a world authority, a moral authority in the world, if it can't recognize what it did, acknowledge what it did, and learn from it. Japan has never had to pay compensation, reparations, that they waged this war in the Pacific. And that was all about Japan trying to assert its superiority over everybody else. And so as Japan now stands in the world as such a power, it can never advance as a true world power unless it really deals with the stain that still exists on its soul.